And welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment your thoughts down below. Who do you think wins these games? Who do you have moving on? And just all the above. What are your thoughts, man? I want to hear it. Down below in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. And let's get right into it. Starting off here with the Dolphins, who are 11-6 and the 6th seed, playing the 11-6 Chiefs, who are the 3 seed. This game will be played in Arrowhead. I honestly don't know what to think about this game. This game is a battle of two teams that really haven't wanted the win in the biggest moments. You have the Chiefs. All their wide receivers can do is drop balls. Kadarius Toney is an absolute disaster this year. I don't know what happened. He was so good last year. Such a disaster this year. I mean, costing them the game with a number of mistakes and a number of times, costing them multiple games. And you have Valdez-Scantling, who's out here dropping balls and breaking Patrick Mahomes in the process. In the game, I won't say that Patrick Mahomes is broken right now because he's obviously locked in and ready to go for this game. But you have a wide receiver core that's not helping you out, and people are just keying in on Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's had a down year by all accounts. And even though he's played pretty well, let's be honest. But the NFL could do without Taylor Swift, I will tell you. And on the other hand, you have the Dolphins, who don't play well, period, in teams where they're playing, in games where they are playing teams in which are better or as good as the Dolphins. I mean, I saw a stat the other day, just off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure they're like 1-10 versus teams that are over 500. It's abysmal. Tua Tagovailoa, their quarterback, he has a terrible time playing against really good competition. So that's really going to hurt them in this game if he continues with that trend. Obviously, you have a lot of talent on this Dolphins offense, and I was watching their game versus the Bills, and really, it wasn't a must-win, but it was as close to a must-win as a not must-win is. You get the 2nd seed, you get to play at home, warm weather. They had a lot to play for, and so that this is their offense. They run a whole lot of pitch outs to their running backs, and I don't know if that's quite what you want to do against a top 5 Chiefs defense. I mean, let's face it, the Chiefs defense is what has got them to 11 wins. It hasn't been the offense. It's been the offense in some games, but in most games, it sure as heck has been the Chiefs defense. So, and that they even played these two teams played in Germany. As a side note, let's just keep other countries out of the NFL. The NFL is an American thing. Let's keep it this way. But that's beside the point. The Chiefs did end up winning 21-14. Tua had below 200 passing yards. Tyreek Hill only had 62 receiving yards. And it was the Chiefs defense that won them this game. So I can see it being somewhat like that. I do think it'll be a little bit higher scoring. I'm taking the Chiefs 23-20 in a tight game in which the Dolphins lose to the Chiefs. Moving on to the 7-seeded 10-7 Pittsburgh Steelers playing at the Buffalo Bills, who are 11-6. Bottom line in this game, the Steelers have found their offensive identity, run-first offense. They have been able to run the ball effectively in most of these current games that they've been playing in. Tons of rushing touchdowns. They've been able to do that effectively. And in this game, to win this game, they have to run the ball effectively. They have to run the ball, period. Honestly, the run-pass ratio should be something like 65-35. Just my opinion, but that's what it needs to be. But and on the Bills side, you have to get Josh Allen calmed down. You have to give him easy throws. Because if he tries to be Superman, if he tries to be something he's not, he's going to throw interceptions. We saw that in every single game this season, pretty much. When he's not on, he's throwing interceptions, and you can't have that. You cannot have that. The Steelers, if they're doing what they've been doing the past couple weeks, they're going to be running the ball. That means taking down clock, and if you get Josh Allen to a situation where he thinks that he has to rush something, has to just do this, has to just do that, you can't have that because he's just going to throw interceptions. He can't just rush out there and do that anymore. He's a dynamic runner. He's a dynamic passer. Just has to screw his head on sometimes. I'm going to take the Bills in this game 27-20. to 19. And I do think that the Steelers can cover. The line is 9.5 right now. I think that the Steelers can win this game, but it's only through one way. I think that they can only win this game one way. It's if Mason Rudolph plays turnover-free ball and they run the ball, like I said, 65 to 70% of the time, and they would have to force 2 or 3 Josh Allen turnovers, and even then I don't think that they can win. The Bills have a far superior roster, even with the injuries, because the Steelers have plenty of injuries. Both of these teams are severely depleted, but I will take the Bills in this one. Moving on to the 7th-seeded Packers playing at the 2nd-seeded Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are elite at home. They are perfect at home. They are 7-0 at home this year, and they are 16-0 at home in the last 2 years. The exception being that playoff game versus the 49ers that they lost. Excuse me. But that being the only blemish, regular season perfect. Cowboys defense is going to be really good in this game. Packers defense, I don't know what to expect from them. I think that they're going to play decent in this game, but they have played some pretty mediocre to bad teams so far. So that's made their defense look very good. I don't know how they're going to play against a top 3 wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb and a very good quarterback in Dak Prescott. Probably top 7 if I were to name off the top of my head. So I don't know how the Packers defense is going to respond to 2 elite playmakers among that whole Cowboys team in general. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here, 24-13. I don't think this is going to be very close. Jordan Love is going to keep them within shooting distance, I guess you could say. But honestly, the Cowboys are just going to out-talent them. They're just going to out-physical them. And they're just going to play better in this game, in my opinion. And we're coming in here with the 5-seeded Browns playing at the number 4-seeded Texans. And honestly, I got to go with the Browns here. The Browns are just riding an incredibly hot streak. And, in this hot streak that they've been on since they started Joe Flacco, they blew out the Texans. I knew the Texans weren't playing without C.J. Stroud. We'll address that later. But, Amari Cooper, he set all kind of Cleveland receiving yards. And they're just riding this Flacco train. And I don't think it's going to be stopped by the Texans. He scorched the Texans' secondary, all their wide receivers, but especially Amari Cooper. Excuse me. And every single one of those starters will be in there. Granted, they'll know how to play him a little bit better, but I don't see the Browns stopping at all. They're going to throw some deep balls. A lot of deep balls, let's face it. And they're going to have them be successful a lot of the time. And even when Joe Flacco does throw that interception, it's going to be 50 yards downfield. So it's going to be an arm punt on 3rd and 10, And their ground game has been pretty solid so far. And their special teams have been excellent so far. Their kicking game is great. They block field goals. They do everything. And they return kickoffs well. They do return punts well. Texans, they have C.J. Stroud, and he is going to put up some massive numbers in this game, I can tell you. And that Texans team, man, that Texans team is going to be around for a very long time. And they're going to be winning the AFC South a lot as well, because we don't know what the Jacksonville Jaguars are right now. That's a topic for another video. So, as I said, got to go with the Browns in this one. I don't think it's too much of a surprise. This is one of the only wild cards I have winning in this playoff, excuse me. But I think it's going to be more of a shootout style. 34-31 is my final for this game. And I just think you can't stop the Flacco train when you're a team like the Texans that they already beat 36-22 or something like that. Now we have the 5-seeded Eagles, who went 11-6, playing at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 4-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went 9-8. They have a worse record. They have 2 less wins, and they're playing this as a home game because the NFC, South is so bad. And in this game, you have A.J. Brown, hurt. We don't know if he's going to play. Devonta Smith, hurt. Most likely won't play. Jalen Hurts, not 100% with his finger injury. And their defense is, goodness, it is awful. That defense for the Eagles, they have no linebackers. Let's put it this way. They had 1 or 2 linebacker injuries and they were done. And the defense is just so bad and abysmal for the Eagles, and I just cannot trust them. They let the New York Giants, in just a game that did not matter at all, they let them score 27 points. I mean, that's not earth-shattering, but I mean, goodness, that was a awful New York Giants team. They were playing Tyrod Taylor. They had Jalen Hyatt out. They had Darren Waller out. Goodness. And I mean, this Eagles defense has just let them down all year, especially as of late. And that's the key here. As of late, this Eagles team had let the Cardinals score 35 points. That's 5 touchdowns. They let the Giants score 25 on Christmas. They let the Seahawks score 20. Cowboys scored 33. 49ers scored 42. Bills scored 34. I mean, this is the Eagles defense here. And we all thought, I didn't think that they were going to be great because I knew the linebackers coming in weren't that great. But I didn't expect that coming in to the season. And, you're getting a Bucs team that is very stable injury-wise. They're coming in relatively healthy, relatively. They're playing really good defense. Just shut out the Panthers. I know that's not a huge deal because everyone shuts out the Panthers, but hey, I mean, their defense is playing really well. You have some really talented wide receivers. Rookie Trey Palmer, I was surprised. I was looking through some PFF grades. Rookie Trey Palmer out of Nebraska. He's the number 5 overall wide receiver in PFF grades. Just think about that. 6th-round rookie out of Nebraska. He's a top 5 receiver in the whole league, not just in the NFC, not just on the team. Top 5 wide receiver in the whole league in PFF grades. Take that for what you will with PFF grades. But, they also have Mike Evans. Also, I'm talking like he's an extra here. He is one of the best wide receivers in the league. He has been for a long time. And you also have Chris Godwin, who's also a very good wide receiver. And you have Baker Mayfield, who's playing relatively well. I'm taking the Bucs here. I don't care what you say. I'm taking the Bucs here 21-17. Next up, we have the 6-seeded 9-8 Rams visiting the 3-seeded 12-5 Lions. This atmosphere is going to be one of the best atmospheres in this playoffs that I'm predicting that. I think it's a foregone conclusion, seeing as how the Lions have been the laughingstock of the league for so many years, and they've come out and just dominated this year, won the division for the first time ever, won the NFC North for the first time ever. And so that atmosphere is going to be great, the best, in my opinion, in the playoffs, probably. Just a little bit of a projection there. And you have 2 great teams. You have the Rams with Matthew Stafford just being an elite quarterback. You can't say anything else about him. He's elite. And that elite wide receiver core with Puka Nacua. Oh my goodness. Smashing records everywhere for wide receiver, rookie wide receivers. And I mean, what? He was a 5th-round draft pick out of BYU? Come on. That's great drafting and great development by Sean McVay. Then you obviously have Cooper Kupp, who gets overlooked because of Puka Nacua, but is still an elite wide receiver. And their defense has surprisingly played very well. You look at the names on their roster, you're like, jeez. I mean, that's how I was in the beginning of the year. I thought, man, this defense is not going to do well. But they played extremely well throughout the season. Their offense is on a roll. And they're playing this Lions team who has Dan Campbell as a head coach. Who wouldn't want to have Dan Campbell as a head coach? I mean, he's such a fiery personality, such a great guy, and you know that he wants the best for his players. You know that. He shows that every time he's out there. Even on that the should-have-been win versus the Cowboys, that whole fiasco, the 2-point conversion didn't count. I'm not going to go into that, but, he just loves his players so much, and he wants the best for his players, and that raw passion, really helping his team out there. And, Jared Goff has been struggling a little bit as of late, but he's still a really good quarterback with a very talented roster. I mean, everywhere you got studs. Some of the best running back, one of the best running back duos in the league with David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs. They will be missing Sam Laporta for this game, but I will reluctantly take the Lions in a close one, 27-23. For me, it's who's going to get that critical turnover, who's going to recover that fumble, intercept that pass. And I think that the Lions defense will have an edge about them. They recover a fumble, possibly. They possibly pick off the Rams, Matthew Stafford. More than likely a fumble, though. I would just a projection. So that's what I think about this game.